here's something you don't see me do very often. I'm using craft paper. Okay, I have sprayed my stencil. This is one of my Gigantor stencils that I bought a while ago. I got 10 of them and they're awesome, but I don't want to overuse them. So I am using them sparingly so that it is a supply that will keep going for a while. I decided to use my Distress Oxide inks. Now, these are really, really juicy because they've just been re-inked. So I had this problem going back 12, 18 months ago. When I first got my Distress Oxide inks, I'm like, how are these people getting such a really good ink payoff when they use their blending brushes? They've re-inked their ink pad. So if you've got Oxide inks and you're not getting a really juicy payoff like this, that's because you may need to re-ink your Oxide ink pads. Now, when you buy your Distress Oxide ink pad, it's got heaps in it, okay? I use mine so often. I mean, I use mine almost every day and sometimes 2 or 3 times in a day. So I've bought the Oxide re-inkers and I have to tell you, the amount that comes out to go into the ink pad to make it nice and juicy again is like next to nothing. So those re-inkers, you get a lot of re-inking value out of the re-inkers. So I know you can get them from Crazy Craft Obsession. They do have them. You can also get them from Crafty Divas. They have them. And I'm not sure. Does Crafts Online have them as well? They might have them. I don't know. They're just the places that I know because I've shopped there. So I know that they've got them. So easy cleanup. Always clean your stencils if you've used Distress Oxide on them. Why? Because as soon as you wet them, it reactivates. So your next project, you might be going to use yellow and you've just used green, or you might use black and the next one's yellow and you're going to wreck the layout because you're going to reactivate the black. Always clean them off. It is totally worth the 5 seconds it takes to clean them. Now, I am using a title that I purchased from PEARTREE Cut Files, and it is called It's All About Family. The colours that I've used in the background. Now, trust me, this video is not very long. Stick around until you see the very end. Because quite often, I do this all the time, I will look at something like this and I'm like, oh, it's on craft. That doesn't look good at all. Trust me, you want to stick around to the very end bit because you will get the value out of the video when you see how I finish it off. And I'm not one much to use the craft colours because they just don't go with my photos, to be honest. It doesn't really go with my style very much. But occasionally I can make it work. So I wanted to show you guys that even my style of scrapbooking, I can make it work with the Kraft Cardstock. What else can I tell you? I'm using LUNAR paste, which is called Gold Rush. I love this colour. By the way, the amount that I put on my hand there, I put it on my hand because when I was actually doing this, it was quite cold and it dries really, really quick when it's cold. So I was trying to keep it warm on my hand, but the problem with it was I was spreading it so far on my hand. You should have seen the amount of trouble I had to get that off my hand. I now have a nice smooth hand and it feels like it's been to the spa for the day, but yeah, probably don't spread it that far on your hand. It's non-toxic, so that's not really the issue. It's just you end up with a gold hand for however long. Now, I did a couple of layers. I sort of went over it to make sure that my letters were nice and gold. I want them golden. But I wanted to show you with a product that you can quite easily... I just used a paintbrush with that, and that's LUNAR paste. And you get a nice, thick coating of it on there. There was something else I was going to do with it, but I stopped myself because this month is Keep It Simple September. So I'm trying to keep, it's really hard for me, guys. I'm trying to keep everything as simple as possible. So it's not that your layouts have to be boring to be simple. It's just paring it back a little bit. You know, like sometimes we all get on the bandwagon and we dump anything and everything on a layout, and it doesn't necessarily need to all be on there. So this is where I decided, I'm like, okay, I'm putting this down. The white border and the white border on the words, that worked beautifully as well. Absolutely love that. And I love that on the craft. Now, you can see the pattern in the background. Be careful when you're doing that with your wet glue as well, because the wet glue will activate the oxide ink. So be sure you're putting it where you want it, and it will change the color. That's probably the best way I can say it. Now, I did not raise up my letters on here. I put them down, straight down, basically straight in the section that they were cut out of. So they're not raised up at all. Some of my layouts are quite heavy on the texture, and some of them I have to keep a little bit thinner. Otherwise, my albums will end up the size of, I don't know, I'll fit like 10 layouts in an album, and let's be honest, that is not very user friendly. It is not smart. So I've put those down. Now this is where it starts to go from a flat plain layout. This is where you can use just a couple of simple products and you can lift your layout. I am using the Range's Liquid Pearls, okay, and I'm using my pokey tool, and I'm just dragging it into a slight teardrop shape. That's what I'm doing with the little pokey tool, and these are raised up slightly, but by adding just that tiny little bit of metallic, that metallic yellow, that gold, that one's, did I say it was Marigold? Okay, I use two different liquid pearls colors. I use Marigold and I use white opal. They're the two that I use. The reason I could get away with those is because it's craft in the background. So I can do white and it's going to stand out big time. And the gold. And the thing is, I had to keep, when you're using a stencil this big, you kind of have to keep pushing yourself back from it to realize and sort of refocus what you're looking at. Because I used the three different greens, in the center I used bundled sage, then I went out to peeled paint, and then on the very outside edge I used forest moss. And fun fact, that is the very first time I've ever used forest moss and peeled paint actually. I don't think I've ever used peeled paint either. I'm not sure about the peeled paint, but I know that is the very first time I've ever used forest moss, because I just don't have the colors in my photos to use it, to be honest. And this is what I say to you guys when it comes to FOMO, fear of missing out. If you are not going to use all of the inks, if you don't scrapbook that much, if you don't art journal, if you don't do card making, you may not need all of the entire range of Distress Oxide inks. You may only need a small amount of them because they might be the colors that you're into at the moment. And then down the track, you might start to change the way you look at things, and you might actually want to extend your little amount that you have. Because I have YouTube and because I am constantly trying to show you guys different techniques and different layouts, and that is why I have all of them. Okay, I have all of them. I love them. I love them all equally. Probably don't love forest moss as much as I should. But I think that is the only color that I haven't actually used before. I think it's only that one. Everything else, I'm pretty confident I've used. Forest moss, I actually thought was going to be more like rustic wilderness, and it wasn't. So, yeah, I honestly think that's the only colour I hadn't used in. I bought my Distress Oxides back in April and June last year. Actually, I think it was June. So, June 2022, I bought these. So, you know, just saying, you may not need them all. Now, I'm just using my white Uniball Signo Broad pen just to bring a bit of drama into the very center of the stenciling. I've gone around with the white and I've left them raised up and domed a little bit with the white opal liquid pearls. It's added just enough. I was trying to lean on a sort of masculine direction with this layout because it's got my father-in-law in it. Yes, it's got my two girls in it, but I think Andrew's got a green shirt on and my father-in-law had a green shirt on, so it was kind of one of those things. That's where the green came in. And yeah, I just wanted to make it nice and simple, and yeah, I think it works. Let me know what you think. If you've got value out of my video, guys, I would love it if you smash that like button, and or if you have not subscribed, I'd love you to hit the subscribe button and leave me a comment. I love reading my comments. You have no idea how much joy it brings me every day reading the comments, and you know, people telling me I would have done it like this or I would have done something slightly different. I love that. It gives me food for thought. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sticking it out to the end and seeing how it turned out. I love it. Thank you so much. I will chat to you again soon. Bye for now, guys.